Alright, what's up everybody? So another one-take video here of my travel adventures down in Central America. This one's going to be of Ometepe and my first entry into Nicaragua. So I'm just going to kick it off by saying basically I'm a little sick right now. So if you can't hear me, hopefully this works and hopefully this works out well. So basically I crossed the border to Nicaragua on a Tika bus, and it was pretty crazy. I took a bus from Monteverde to the Pan American Highway and was just waiting on the side of the road for my bus to show up. They said it was going to show up within kind of an hour or two time window, so I pulled up my laptop and I started working off of my hotspot that I could pull from my Skyroam hotspot. It was pretty crazy to be working on the side of a highway in the middle of nowhere, Costa Rica, but that's kind of just the way she goes sometimes. And so I got on the bus finally, and I had no idea what to expect really. I had no money, no cash on me pretty much. I had $5 or $10. I knew there was going to be some need for some cash at the border, and as it turns out I got to the border and this German couple from Berlin helped me out huge. They basically paid for my exit fee from Costa Rica and my entrance fee into Nicaragua, and they were heading to the same place that I was heading to, which was Ometepe. So by the time we got over to Ometepe, I was able to give them their money back. But just that journey to Ometepe, once we got into Nicaragua, I mean, what a spectacular place that was. And we got on the ferry, and I had met another girl, Sinead. She was an Irish girl, so there was four of us kind of traveling together for a brief moment there as we got onto Ometepe, and was sitting there on about an hour and 20-minute ferry ride across. And as we reached the island, the sun was setting to behind us, setting on the volcanoes, the two volcanoes that make up Ometepe, and we basically rolled off the boat and the nightfall was upon us. So we basically just checked into the hostel. The two people from Berlin, they ended up actually going to their friend's place, and Sinead and I actually ended up traveling together for about a week or more. I think it was just over a week, which was super amazing to have a travel friend to, see Nicaragua, see Ometepe with, and really have some awesome adventures that I'm going to tell you guys about right now. So basically we got in, and that first night everything was closed. There was one grocery store kind of thing open. We got some food, whipped up what was probably the most questionable curry you could ever imagine, but we ate it. It was amazing. It was just nice to have some food in my belly after basically not eating all day as I traveled across the borders. And then the next day is really when the adventures started. So Sinead and a couple other people from the hostel took their hiking boots and they climbed up the Concepcion volcano, and I decided to not hike up that volcano with my Birkenstocks and instead rent some scooters with a couple Malaysian guys that I'd also met kind of on the journey up towards Ometepe. And turns out their scooter wheels were significantly larger than mine, and I never really considered that or looked at that. And we took a wrong turn or two on this island, and things got really shitty really quick. I mean, we were on roads that would be technical driving on a motorbike, and I was sitting there on a scooter with probably a 20-inch diameter wheel, and that proved to be quite challenging. I definitely bailed a couple times on the trail, biffed up the scooter pretty good, and eventually we got back onto the highways, which was fine, and ended up finding this nice beach, and then we went to this nice watering hole. And at kind of midday I had to basically head back and get on some calls and continue working, so I shredded back. And that's when I kind of realized, oh my gosh, this island is so much bigger than you think it is when you just look at it on a map, or you show up, you think, oh, I can walk from one side to the other, or whatever it may be, but that's not the case at all. I mean, the thing is 20 kilometers long as the crow flies north-south, and probably 10 and a bit wide east-west. So it was pretty crazy how big this island was, and it definitely had a really cool energy to it. So after a few days of spending our time on the west side of the island in Malaguape, we decided to kind of venture over to the southeast corner of the island, kind of near Santa Martin, I think it was called, and Balgue, and we ended up staying a week at this permaculture farm called El Zipolote. And I really wanted to spend a lot of time talking about this permaculture farm that I got a chance to live on for a week. I mean, it was such a unique space and had such an amazing energy to it. It was totally mind-boggling, really. Like, we spent a week there, and it felt like I had spent maybe 2.5 days there. Every day we got a chance to practice yoga, which I felt was probably some of the more authentic yoga sessions I had been able to experience in recent times there. It was a very humbling experience. Got a chance to meditate every day and go for swims, about a 20-minute walk down the hill towards the beach. And the whole premise of this permaculture farm was basically, obviously, you got your low maintenance, let nature do its thing, have a food forest. And they've been growing this for, I think it was 20 to 30 years. This Italian son and his father came over and basically had no money and decided to start building a permaculture facility on Ometepe. And it was just got really emotional for me to be able to see something that I kind of dreamt of building myself back home, and knowing how much work goes into something like that, but also, you know, reaping the rewards of it. I mean, we did a permaculture tour of the farm, and, you know, we were pulling ginger root and turmeric root out of the ground and, you know, sampling it right there. We had cinnamon right there on disposal, like cinnamon bark, and there was mango trees on the property, and all sorts of really cool concepts, one of which I had no idea existed. You could take these trees, cut their branches off, plant them in the ground, and they would become trees themselves, so they used those for posts. And they also had a little bit of a vegetable garden going as well, which was not totally permaculture-esque, but it still was encompassing this idea of, like, you know, really minimizing your footprint and letting, you know, yourself kind of tweak some things in nature that allow it to make it a food-bearing kind of environment, and then reaping the benefits of living on that. And they didn't have a kitchen at this hostel, so you ended up having to purchase food from their restaurant all week, and their food was pretty much all from the farm. And that was just like such an amazing experience to basically eat a whole week of food just off of the farm from what they've got here on that plot of land, and also like from the surrounding other farms that were on the island. So that was pretty much the consistent day-to-day on El Zipolote and Ometepe. And then one night, it was the full moon night, and we ended up going for about an hour, just over an hour hike up one of the volcanoes to another one of Christian's, who is the guy who owned the hostel, up to one of his friends' houses up on the hillside, and just walking through the island's trails at night, you know, guided by moonlight, with, I think there was like 30 or 40 people who did this trek up the mountain. It was super cool to just like walk through fields, walk through farms, walk through the forest at night, all led by moonlight. It was a really special experience for me, and that was one of the notable adventures I think we got to do. And we had a big fire up there, and I set up a hammock, and got a chance to just like sleep in my hammock. I was a little cold in the morning, but woke up and got back down. And some of the other adventures we did during the week is we got a chance to rent an ATV, and we bombed around the entire southern island, Sinead and I, and checked out the waterfall that's also on that side of the island. And that waterfall was really really cool, really beautiful space. Even though it was dry season, the waterfall wasn't free flowing. Usually it free flows. I think it was 10 meters wide, and then just down, and it was probably flowing like a meter, if that. But because of all the mist and how well things grow and that humidity with that heat, it was just the entire kind of basin that was this waterfall was in was just lush with nature and growth. It was super cool to have that in this waterfall in dry season, go on a casual 45-minute hike up to this waterfall, and then continued cruising around on the ATV around the rest of the island. So I basically got to do both sides of the island on motorized vehicles and see some pretty remote Nicaraguan culture. Getting a chance to just ride the ATV and ride the scooter that I totally mangled and had to pay for, but that's just the way life goes. And we also got a chance to go on Saturday to the local market, which thought it was going to be a little bit bigger than it was, but yeah, they had this local market where you got a chance to, eat local food and see the locals mingle and exchange their goods and buy things and brownies and mangoes and pineapples and all sorts of amazing food that they had offering at this farmer's market, and get a chance to talk to some of the locals. It was just a really cool experience to spend a week there. Like I said, it really felt like I was only there for about 2.5 days. The time style and just the energy around the island was so much different than everything else that I've experienced down here, even in like other travels as well. It was just such a unique vibe on this island, and I would love to go back and explore it. So from there, basically, we decided to get off the island and we were going to head up to Granada. So Sinead and I, got off the island, and I decided that I wanted to do that on a Wednesday, and we had a work call. So we basically got off the island on the ferry, and I started this call on my hotspot, no problems, in Rivas in Nicaragua, and Sinead wanted to hitchhike up to Granada. So I was like, yeah, I'm down to hitchhike. People said it was pretty easy, and it was actually quicker than the chicken buses, because the hitchhiking route would just, you get in a truck and it would just go straight to Granada, versus stopping every like 3 or 2 minutes like to pick up people and drop people off. So ended up getting on this in this semi truck on a call, and I really thought like everything reception wise was great on all the highways I had been on in Central America so far, and everything leading up to Nicaragua, up to Rivas. So I thought I'll be fine once I get in the car and I'll be able to talk to people, and ends up that like the service on this road just kind of kept coming in and out and in and out, and it was an absolute gong show that I was basically hitchhiking and taking a call at the same time. And I can't believe I thought that was going to work. In hindsight, it seemed more like common sense not to do that, but I thought it would work at any cost. Got into Granada that night, and at that point we were staying at a nicer kind of boutique hostel, so we got a chance to really bang out a lot of work that night and the next day, so it wasn't too bad. And from there we got a chance to go out to this treehouse hostel, which was just outside of Granada, out in the jungle essentially, near Granada, where you take this free shuttle in a pickup truck, stand in the back of the pickup truck, and the hostel would just shuttle people out there for free. And we went there for 2 nights. There was one night was the Friday night, it was a rave party, and the other night was an open mic night. So I'm going to start with the rave night party. That was crazy awesome times, because I've been sober for about 2.5 months, so all I drank was a cup of coffee and danced my ass off all night, and had a wonderful time listening to this Managua DJ came in and basically tore it up. It was amazing. It was jungle rave, jungle beats, jungle techno kind of vibe. And as the night got on, they brought people in at 9, 10, 11 p.m. on shuttles, so the place got packed. It was basically just like an epic house party on steroids, with like 150 people there, and this treehouse hostel bumping beats. It was just an amazing experience. And the next day we left, but the Thursday night was the open mic night, and obviously I've been playing music for a while, so I thought I would be able to share some of my music with some people. And I've never performed in front of any crowd of people. I mean, apart from maybe 5 or 6 people around a campfire at my own house, I've never actually done any live performing. So this was kind of going to be the first time I had actually tried to live perform, even though it was a small open mic night at a hostel. So basically what happened is, as the night progressed, you had John, who was the owner of this hostel. He was, an amazing performer. And Zach, who was a volunteer, he played the guitar like I've never heard in live music before ever in my life. Zach, if you're watching this, you actually kick ass at the guitar. It's crazy. It was just him, solo performer. And then eventually they brought in a band at around 9:30, 10 o'clock. That was this reggae local Managua band again, just to kind of pick the vibe up. So when John started playing, I thought the best way to do this would be like kind of break the ice and start playing the drum box. They had 2 guitars mic'd up, a ukulele, a drum box mic'd up, and 2 mics. So this was not like some small casual open mic night, as I kind of had the expectation of it being. And everybody who performed was really good. So I basically was very anxious to get up on stage and do anything. And I ended up playing the drum box with John there for a couple songs, just to kind of break the ice, get up on stage, and start making music in front of a crowd of people. There was only 12 people there kind of when that was happening, and then eventually John stopped playing and asked if anyone else wanted to play, and I thought, yeah, cool, I'll pick up the guitar. So I picked up the guitar, and I haven't played in like 3 months, it feels like. And I started playing one of my original songs, just the looping instrumental. I really didn't feel comfortable like singing at this point. And so I started playing it, and it was just so rusty. I kept missing notes. I just kept feeling so embarrassed. Like I started off on such a rough foot. And again, my anxiety just continued building, and I had no idea where I was taking this, but I was just like a nervous wreck up on this stage with about 12, 15 people there. And I put my head down, and eventually I started grooving at it, and I got around, and I kept playing the loop over and over again. But then I realized like the loop sounded super boring, and I was just like, oh man, but I can't lose focus. I can't stop playing and looking down at my guitar. And so eventually I'm playing, and then somebody else starts jamming on the riff, and Zach basically picked up the other guitar, walked up on stage, and started riffing with me, which was amazing. I mean, then we had a more complete sound, and then this other guy kind of, all of a sudden I heard the drum box going, and I was like, oh, another guy just joined in, this is amazing. And the whole time I've got my head down, and I lift my head up at the end of the song, and I look up, and there's like 20, 25 people there, because a shuttle had arrived with a whole bunch of people. So this whole time I was sitting there like, wow, I don't even know how many people I was performing in front of at any point in time during the song, and some people were listening, some people weren't. And once we kind of finished and wrapped up that song, one of the guys who was on the drum box was like, hey, do you guys want to play some reggae? And I was like, shit, I don't really know reggae beats, but Zach was like, yeah, man, just like play these 3 chords, you'll be fine. So I played a couple of the chords over and over again, keeping my concentration on just like hitting the notes as much as I could on the reggae beats, and buried my head in the song. And eventually, once that song wrapped up and we were jamming for a while, I looked up and another shuttle had showed up. So we had been performing in front of like 40, 50 people. Again, no idea how many people were listening, who was like paying attention, but the learning experience of just being able to go up on stage and play, like I said, it was an absolute shit wreck, but I learned so much on how much I can improve on, performing in front of people and sharing my art, and it was just an amazing first experience of doing that. Even as insignificant as it may seem to most people who are there, I really felt like